Welcome. This is the second episode of the Heart to Heart Talk, and I'm Anatai. I'm the owner and founder of Anatai Wellness Institute. So today we're going to talk about psychology of eating. So let me just get this squared away. I'm still trying to get my routine all squared away. I know I'm a little bit late, but it's okay. So I want to talk about psychology of eating, and it's because um, it is the reason why over 90% of dieting effort fail. Some of you might disagree with me, like doing the calorie deficit. Yes, that works initially for a few months, and then somehow, somewhere, always go back. And I'm not making this up, and it's because this is based on my own professional experience working with like hundreds and hundreds of patients and clients. That exactly what I see. So I think in the last episode, which is our very first episode, I talk about who I am, my experience or my background as a pediatric dietitian, and I start seeing adult patient, and I just don't understand, like, how come all these things that I was taught in school to help people with weight loss doesn't work. And that's how I kind of start looking into more the alternative, but it is really not alternative. People often think of all this functional nutrition, integrative nutrition is like woo-woo science and stuff, but it's really not. If if you're another registered dietitian, nutritionist, doctors, nurses, if you just go back to all the anatomy and physiology books that we study in college, all the answers that we need is in there. The problem is that a lot of us are not taught to think or critical thinking, asking deeper questions. Because I remember the way that I was taught in school is that um, it's almost like it's a matching game. You have a disease, you have a diet. You have heart disease, you follow the heart healthy diet. You have diabetes, you follow a diabetes diet. You need to lose weight, you cut calories, cut fat, and and the thing is, it doesn't work. And again, I'm not making this up. I've seen so many patients, especially women, who follow all those weight loss advice, cutting calories, exercising to create even more deficit. It doesn't work. Like pretty much that's most of the patient that I get for weight loss is the doctor's referral will always say something like, patient try everything and still not losing weight. Patient exercising, dieting, and exercising, still not losing weight. They check thyroid, everything's normal, check all the labs, everything's normal, nothing's wrong. Sometimes the frustration is the doctor tell the patient that, oh, it's in your head. You just need to stop eating. You just need to be stop being lazy and go out exercise. Those are things that doctors tells our patient when they don't know what to do with them. But the thing is, like I said, dieting, cutting calories, doesn't work. What works is trying to figure out what is going on in the body and then try to figure out the best diet for the body. Because weight loss, like if you look at the articles that I posted at my blog, is really not about like restricting the body. Because we all know when you go on diet, it's always the same story, right? Like with my all my clients say, oh yeah, I was so good. I was following my diet, eating so healthy. And then one day a party happens, or I just was so hungry, I ate a whole bag of chips, or the at the party we'll have a potluck, so I ate a lot of carbs. And the thing is, when that happens, it's always because you're restricting yourself too much. So, but I'll talk about that later. But with the psychology of eating, what I want to touch on is not so much about like the biology part. I might mention some of that, and I might actually answer some questions that people have about weight loss. But the psychology is understanding how we make the decision, right? So, like I said, I've seen a lot of people coming for weight loss, but what I notice is that almost 99% of the people who come to me, it's not that they need more education about what's healthy and what not to eat. Pretty much everyone who who wants to lose weight or try to eat healthy, we all know they know exactly what kind of food they need to eat, what's healthy, what not, what to avoid. But the problem is they always still ended up choosing the not healthy choice. And when they choose the healthy choice, it's not like, oh, I just have one cookie and I'm done, or I just have a couple of chips, I'm done. They always ended up eating a whole bag of cookies, a whole bag of chips, or like ice cream, like one of those one pint. Instead of like scooping a little bit out to eat, they have to eat the whole tub of thing. So that's kind of the psychology part that I want to talk about today. So then it's like, and because people are eating so much like that, that's how like a lot of times people who are overweight, and then people who are not overweight keep telling you that, why don't you just stop eating? Why don't you just eat one cookie? So there's a lot of like nutritional advice from other nutritionists, fitness coach, or gurus and stuff, just give giving all this like sounding really logical and very reasonable recommendations, like, oh, portion out your snack into smaller portion, eat the ice cream from a cup, put it in a smaller cup, and then just have one cookie at a time. But what they don't understand is, yeah, all these recommendations are perfect for someone who doesn't have a problem with relationship with food. So what we're talking about is more subconscious and emotional attachment to the food. Because one of the things that I always have my patients do is I want I want to find out why they're eating, right? Because a lot of times we don't always eat because we're hungry. Hungry is one of the major reasons why we eat. But if you look at a lot of people who binge eat or just eat out of boredom, like, is it really out of boredom, right? And then we also look at other things that triggers it. So when people think of like, why am I binge eating? They often think that, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stop eating? So they often go into like something is wrong with them rather than what happened to me, right? So and and over the years, more so the last few years especially, what I hear a lot is that people say things like, oh, eating and food just makes me happy. Eating calms me down. Or I just enjoy eating food around other people. It just makes me feel so happy. So so then there's actually this whole emotional component to eating. But when conventional health and science keep thinking that trying to solve this overweight and obesity problem with logical solution, which is counting calories, counting portion, and all those things are fine if we're a logical machine, but the human being is actually all emotional. We're just all of us are just a huge bag of emotional baggage, but in a good way. So that's really what we need to understand if we really want to help someone resolve their weight issues and the binge eating issue. Because the logical side of it is kind of out of the question. Because 90% of the decision that we make every day regarding food, regarding what we wear, what we buy, what we eat, how we treat our kids, how we treat other people, how we want other people to treat us, is all emotional, based on emotions or the subconscious mind. Only 10% of the time is logical. It's like buying a car. Like, we often think that, oh yeah, I just need a car to get to point A to point B, so I'll just get the cheapest one that can do that. But then once you're in the dealership, you see this other car that looks a lot nicer, have all this other stuff, and you're like, oh my god, I look so much better in that car. Then your decision kind of change. You start having all these, so your emotion changes. You're like, oh, I really like that car. It makes me feel so good driving that, and blah blah blah. And then your mind will start coming up with all this logical excuse or reason to 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 justify your emotional decision. But anyway, so that's something that we need to be aware of, is that our emotions determines a lot of our decision making. So meaning and knowing what and how we make decision with our eating, then maybe next time you start eating, just ask your question. Stop just for a second and ask yourself, why am I eating? Am I really hungry down here, or I'm just bored, or I just want something to chew on because I'm really upset right now? Because no one ever taught us to link those things together. Even as registered dietitian, we're not taught anything about, well, we have to take a psychology class in college, but then in the actual nutrition class or nutrition counseling class, no one ever talks about how our emotions affects how we eat and all those. We only focus on like calories counting. And then now thinking back on like what we learned in nutrition and how our recommendations are is almost like a bunch of people with eating disorder dishing out like more eating disorder kind of recommendations, right? Like actually I have a post a while back that I call it what the paradox of nutrition or something like that. So the way we help people who have eating disorder, anorexia, is to make them eat like an overweight person. And then for the overweight person, our advice for them is to eat like someone who is anorexic, count all the calories, exercise excessively, obsessed over food all the time. So that's kind of like, I just thought it's funny how we have our recommendations all wrong, because obviously it didn't work. And the other thing that these recommendations also doesn't work is it doesn't take into consideration of the person as an individual, because when we teach people to count calories, to follow our recommendations, okay, you eat at certain time of the day, you follow intermittent fasting, you only eat within this window. If any other times outside the window you're hungry, just ignore it. All this ignoring is actually really bad for your psychology, because you are ignoring your own body signs. The way to ultimately get to the goal of what you want, eating healthy, eating normally, having healthy relationship with food, is listening to your body. If you constantly have to rely on an app to tell you how much more calories you have to eat for the day, or listening to a guru saying that you need to do intermittent fasting and you cannot eat after 7 p.m., you are ignoring your body signs and body language. And over time, and like, and this is true for some of you listening right now, is that you don't recognize hunger and fullness anymore. And that's some of the things that I have a lot of my patient and client told me, is that I don't know when to eat and I don't know when to stop, because they're so out of tune with the body, because they have to rely on an outside source, outside something, to tell them when to eat, how much to eat, and how much to, or when to stop eating. So this is kind of basically my whole brand message here with me starting this my Facebook group, my Instagram, and all this thing going on, is really to help women. And I'll explain that why I want to pick this specific group, is to help women struggling with weight and body image to learn to listen to the body and to really understand how the body works, or their own body, how their body works, instead of relying on gurus or an app to tell them how to eat, when to eat, and what to eat. But because every one of us is different. And then when you start learning to listen to your body, be in tune with your body needs, giving your body what it needs, then your body will start screaming for all this junk food. Then you'll start eating better, because you notice that you don't need all that junk to feel anything or make you feel good or anything. So that's kind of the whole purpose of my channel starting off this. And then the reason why I like to work with women is because really that calorie deficit recommendations really only works for men. For women, it hardly ever works. Like, okay, this is what happens. So at work, I see a lot of women for weight loss, and then I'll put them on this calorie deficit diet or this healthy diet that now I recommend, the elimination clean start diet that I recommend. Most women will come back in a month and they might lose like 1 or 2 pounds in a month, but then they'll be like, oh, my husband is eating the same thing just like me, and he lost like 10 pounds. And then like one after another patient, I was like, oh my God, like, why is that? Then I then the only logical reason for that is that women have all these extra hormones, right? Because we have our menstrual period and we have the God sent superpower of creating human babies. So we have a very special body that is not like men. So when it comes to like weight, our body is more protective of like losing weight. And that's also the reason why the women body also have a lot more body fats, because our body is preparing us just in case we get pregnant. Our body is supportive of the growing fetus and carry the baby all the way to term. Uncle Salai-san. And so that's kind of the fundamentals of the difference between a man and a woman's body. So thinking of that and knowing that, meaning that we need to stay away from all those general health recommendations and then try to learn to understand how the female body works and then feed it properly with the right kind of food that nurtures the female body. And I can talk about that more maybe in another episode, but I want to stay focused on the psychology part of that. So the other thing that I also learned, well, actually not, it's part of the thing, is we eat for very many different reasons, right? So I started kind of talk about the emotions, why we're eating. It's always not because, oh yeah, this food is healthy. It's always something like going on in the head, like you go to the fridge. Like I have the same problem too, but I just deal with it differently. But I'm not gonna talk about myself. It's all on you guys. So like if you're hungry or you're just bored, you go to a kitchen, open a fridge, and you're like, oh, let's see what's in there. And then maybe you see a candy bar and then there's an apple and you're like, okay, apple and candy bar. Candy bar is a lot more fun to eat, right? Or you find a tub of ice cream, you're like, oh, let's get the ice cream. But the thing is, at that moment, why are you picking the candy bar or the ice cream and not the apple, right? When you know that the apple is healthier for you, and you know that if you really want to take care of your body, you will choose the apple because the apple will do more good for you. But you're not, right? So what's the psychology behind all of that? So like actually last couple of weeks I've been doing therapy with a few of my clients. So these are some of the things that come up with. I didn't have my note, so I'll try to remember and list it all out. So I have a client who dealing with some binge eating issue every day after work. Then when we're talking about it, we kind of think that might be stress from work. But then when we actually do some regression, it came to find out it was more of a defined thing that he was doing, because when he was growing up, he's not allowed to have any um, cookies, candies, or sweets and things like that. So most of the memories that comes back up was like memories of him hiding behind the parents. Every opportunity that he can find is to eat all those junk food, and because he cannot bring it back home to eat, so whatever opportunity he has, he just eat a lot of it, so that way there's no evidence to bring back home. And also he feel the void, right? Feeling that, oh, you won't allow me to eat, I'm going to eat as much as I can now. Because so there's a defiant part of it too, because he said that when he's eating, binge eating on those junk food, the feeling he get is that the feeling of freedom and feeling that he can do anything he wants because his parents cannot find out. And then he another feeling that comes up for him was the the eating and the binge eating um, makes him feel like he's not alone. It's feeling an empty void and loneliness inside him. So that was his feeling with eating. And then there's another client. her binge eating was associated with love. So her story was when she was little, her parents got divorced and then the dad moved out. But then the dad will once in a while send her a whole box secretly, a big box of candies and sweets and things like that, just to her, not even to her brother. So candy, sweets, and stuff to her is associated with like this secret connection that I have, this secret love connection that I have with my dad. Because she really missed her dad very much after the parents get divorced. So she'll hide this stash away from the mom and away from the brother. And then whenever she feels sad or feel like she missed her dad, she'll hide in a corner and eat a little bit of that. And that over time, as she gets older, it turns into a binge eating thing. Every time that she has something that is unpleasant or upset her, that's where she goes. Because whenever she eats this candy and sweets, she associates that back to the feeling of being loved with the dad. So that's how she connects with the food or the feeling that she attached with the binge eating of the sweets and sugar and things like that. And then there's another couple other ones. I might have one. And then there's another one where my client story was again the problem is binge eating. And then the story was, let me think. I only remember one thing. So the story was that her sister has eating disorder. So then with the sister having eating disorder, everything around the household was becoming weird around the food. So she developed this unhealthy eating habits around food because everyone was tiptoeing around the sister and her because sister has eating disorder. They're kind of always watching her, making sure that she's okay. So that environment kind of create a um, weird awkwardness around food, and that's how she developed a unhealthy relationship with food. And then there's another one. Let me think. Okay, I can't quite think of that. But anyway, so like those are some examples that I want to share with you that when you have an unhealthy relationship or you have some kind of binge eating or weird experience with eating food that you feel like you're out of control, usually is there's deep down there's a psychological or emotional attachment or reason for that. So that's something to think about. And once you know what is the cause, why you're eating, then you'll be more aware consciously and with your logical mind, you're like my client, he said, you know, actually now I don't binge as much because now I know that I'm not that little kid anymore. I don't need to hide my eating. I can just eat however much I want and then have the leftover put away because my parents not here to punish me anymore. And I'm a grown up man. I don't need someone's permission to tell me whether I can have or not have something. So that was his um, revelation. That's the word. Okay. And yeah, so that's part of the psychology. And then the other thing that I kind of want to talk about today um, is similar to that is healthy eating is expensive. I hear this all the time. Like I just don't understand people when they say eating healthy is expensive, but then they'll go out spend $1,000 on an iPhone and all these things, right? So the way to look at it is really the food itself is not expensive. It's more so that you're not used to buying all this healthy food, right? Like like us, when we eat out as a family, we always start with a salad, right? But most people don't think that way. Most people think that when they go out to eat, it's my cheat meal, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And that's the mentality when you're restricting yourself all week long or for a whole month or 2 months, and when the opportunity comes, when you have that cheat meal, which I don't like to use the word cheat day, cheat meal, or whatever, it's it just means that it just have a negative connotation to the whole meal. But the thing is, when you're eating out, you just need to think of that eating out as as your regular eating. Like to me, I have clients who have like cheat meal, like they'll say, "Oh yeah, I take my kids out every week. Like once a week, we'll go to McDonald's, and then we just order whatever we want." Like they'll let the kids order five cheeseburger. I was like, okay, I understand that the cheat meal or that once a week going out to eat is a fun thing, but then are you having fun out of eating? Are you having fun being around your family? So I have to refocus the attention on that cheat meal and saying that, hey, it's okay to eat out once a week with your family, but you should be focusing on the relationship that you're building with your family, not the relationship you're building with the food. Because if one cheeseburger or one thing of French fries makes you happy eating at McDonald's, do you really need to eat like a large fries and five cheeseburger, right? And the thing is, do is it really that important that you not allow yourself to eat those food for a whole week or a whole month just so you can have one day of cheat meal to undo all the effort in that last week that you put in, right? So the thing is, part of it is understanding that there's no food or no food is off limit. So basically everything is okay to eat. The only food that you're not allowed to eat logically is any food that makes you sick, any food that you're allergic to and cause allergic reactions, specifically, especially an anaphylactic reaction. And what I see in a lot of the adult is that there's a lot of food that the body cannot handle. Like they'll say something like, "Oh, red meat upset my stomach. Oh, gluten food and bread upset my stomach." All these food that they cannot have, they continue to eat it, right? So then we need to figure out again why you keep eating those food when it's causing you pain. So again, it's the emotional and psychological part of it. But anyway, going back to eating healthy is expensive. The other way to look at it is, okay, so eating is expensive, so then you go for the cheap food, but is the food really cheap or are those cheap food are you actually paying for? Tell people there's nothing free. When you want something for free, you give up your choice. When you want free education, that means that you don't have a choice. You get what you get. So when you're going for a cheap food, it might seem like, oh yeah, it's cheap and it fills up a space in my belly. But in the long run, what are you actually paying for, right? So you either pay it now or pay it in the future. But if you pay it now, you probably will have a better future because when you spend that money and eat that healthy food, you feel good for the next few days because you don't have that because you know already when you eat those junk food, especially when you eat a lot of it, you get that few minutes of like excitement. Oh my god, this is so good, blah blah, and you feel all your lights up in your brain. But then it's the moment after that you eat, you start having this negative conversation with yourself, like you're so stupid. You shouldn't have done that. I'm so disappointed at you. Like you just ruin everything. You're a piece of shit and you just can't do anything good. Right? So you have all these negative things that you put yourself down, so that brings down your self-esteem and then also further ruin your relationship with food because you always use food to punish yourself. So, but the reality is we need to change our dialogue around healthy eating because healthy eating is really not that expensive. Because if you buy a bag of chips, like a family size bag of like Doritos, Cheetos, whatever, it's like $5. But you can get the same with the same $5, you can get a thing of strawberry that you can eat the whole thing of strawberry and still feel good about yourself, right? So it's switching the idea and stop thinking that eating healthy is expensive, but change that thought and say eating junk food is expensive because it is causing my health, causing my self-esteem, and causing my relationship with food. So that's something to think about is what you tell yourself. And you know what? I think that's all I have for today. I don't really have any other, but but I'll be doing more posts on my Instagram and Facebook. And then for those of you on Instagram, I do have a Facebook group where um, it's still growing. So the purpose of the Facebook group is really for women who's struggling with weight loss and problem with relationship with food and binge eating, body image, disorder eating, all of those, to kind of have a safe place to talk and support each other. Because I, again, the purpose of me creating all this is really to help people understand how their body works, how the female body works, and how to nurture it and how to love it. Is is more so than try to listen to all this advice that doesn't work. Because I'm sure most of you have all this, listen to all this thing, try all this thing, and it doesn't work. And you're like starting to give up to a point that, you know what, maybe I just have the fat gene and that's how I am. So I might as well just eat whatever junk I can since that's my destiny. But I want to tell you that that's not your destiny. You're not meant to be overweight. You're not meant to have low self esteem. We're all born, when we're all born with perfect confidence, perfect self esteem, and perfect relationship with food. You gotta remember that. It is the things that happen to us, done to us, and things that we hear around us that changes our perception of food and how we relate to it. Because have you ever had any baby? If you have, you'll be super lucky. Like any baby will wake up the mom 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning because I want to eat. Like I can't wait till you wake up at 8 o'clock. I want it now. So you better wake up and feed me now. Babies don't care. Babies like I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat now. I don't care what you want. I don't care you haven't slept for 24 hours, but I want that bottle now. I want to be fed now. You better wake up and feed me. And I'm not going to stop until you feed me, right? So you are born with a perfect relationship. And when you're born, you also know that everything that you want is available. Because no baby is like sleeping there 3 o'clock in the morning, like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. But I don't want to wake up mom and dad because I know that they didn't sleep enough and they have to wake up early for work. But babies don't think that way. They're like, I want it now. I'm hungry. I want it now. So that's kind of a something that you want to bring back into your your being now is understanding that you were born with a perfect relationship with food. So knowing that you have done that before, that should be a reminder that what you want, that perfect relationship with food and that perfect weight is available to you. You just need to understand how did you acquire those kind of behavior and those kind of like I cannot ask for anything, that kind of beliefs. So once you understand where those beliefs come from, you can change the dialogue in your head and know that, hey, I'm really hungry right now, like belly hungry. I need to eat now. So you you tell your boss or whatever, I just need to take a break, like 5 minute break and eat something quick. Because that's something I hear a lot is that people say, I don't have time to eat. And when you're saying that, you're putting someone else needs before you. But that will be another topic talking about self-love and things like that. But yeah, I'll actually save all of that for another time. So yeah, go join the Facebook group in on Facebook is actually called Amazing Babes because I want to raise the energy of every woman to have more confidence, more self-esteem because that is what's missing in our life. When we don't have that confidence, self-esteem, we don't feel that we're good enough. We don't feel that we deserve to ask for more. But once you realize that you deserve everything in life, you have self-confidence, self-esteem, you deserve anything, you will be more confident to speak up and ask for what you want and say no to things that doesn't serve you. And when you are able to do that, put your needs in front of everybody else, then you realize that you're not going to stress eat as much because I guarantee you a lot of you binge eating or having issue with food is because of the stress that you're dealing with. But what you don't realize is that some of the stress can be avoided just by you saying no and having a bigger boundaries around you. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And like I said, join the Facebook group now. It's still growing, so it's a still very intimate group. So this is the best time to join the group because when you have a question, it'll be answered. All right. And if you have any question or topic specifically for the future, put it in the comment below, and then I'll talk to you guys again next week. Okay? Bye.